Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. I hope everyone is doing well tonight. I am once again simulcasting on Rumble and Utizzle, and I hope this broadcast finds you well. We're going to talk about a lot of things like this dramatic rescue. What was the timeline? We got a lot more achieved than people realize, but that's okay. And I'm going to start off my video with some videos. One, I was going to play my last broadcast, got cut off before I could play it, and it refers to another group we have to deal with besides these whacked out mullahs, a group that is influencing how we live our lives. And they're on the block too. That's in the chopping block. So I play these videos to give people time to get a cup of coffee or a cold brouhaha or an adult beverage, or maybe even a milkshake, whatever you want. But here's the video I was going to play last night. And I got unceremoniously interrupted. And like I say, it has to do with dark forces other than the mullahs. So anyway, folks, once the videos are finished playing, we'll be like butter and get on a roll.
I am 24 years old. I have had 3 heart attacks, a mini stroke, and I am now getting a pacemaker.
According to this Army memo, your debilitating heart condition can be caused by either COVID-19 infection or the COVID-19 vaccine. Have you ever tested positive for COVID-19?
I don't have a single positive test for COVID-19.
So is this Army memo an acknowledgement that your heart condition is the result of the COVID vaccine?
It 100% is an acknowledgement that it was a result of a vaccine.
What was the cost of following orders?
I mean, it pretty much cost my whole life.
It's a sacred military pledge to leave no one behind. Were you left behind by the Army and the National Guard?
I was left behind and trampled. They watched it, they came back, walked all over me, and then left again.
That's a very serious charge.
I'm very serious when I say it.
Let me cut my mic off and play some videos, and then we'll be like butter and get on the roll.
Tony Fauci still does speaking engagements.
And gets paid a fortune.
Is celebrated for how he responded to a virus we know he was involved in.
How does that even happen?
I don't understand how that makes sense to anybody. You can, I mean, I want to ask the people that see him as a hero. You do recognize all of science has now got him attached to gain of function research.
Yes.
Rand Paul's all over him. We have the emails. We have him trying to cover it up. We have his staff saying it looks like it came from the Wuhan lab. Oh, that could be a problem. And then that same staff a week later puts out an article. It's impossible for it to have come from that lab. Natural origin is the only explanation. Whoa, wait a minute. You just took scientists that said, I believe it came from that lab, then sign a paper and write a paper that says the exact opposite within 7 days. And Tony Fauci is the one overseeing all that. I think this guy's in trouble.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything. Do I think he was killed? 100%. Yes, I do. Because he made his whole living blackmailing people. There were a lot of men in those planes, a lot of men who visited that island, a lot of powerful men who came into that apartment.
ABC and Robach released statements today, essentially saying that the story wasn't ready for air. She said that, and they said that as well, not fully vetted. ABC has still not run all the
storm zone.
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering what storm you're talking about.
They have unsuccessfully tried to take down the wrong person.
He's absolutely going to come back with full vengeance the next time around.
I think about what 4 years of a retribution presidency might look like. Our Constitution really does give the president tremendous power to destroy. This will be something we could never have imagined.
Now the gloves are off.
Some of Trump's close political allies told him they are working on figuring out the identities of the FBI and DOJ staff and forming lists.
I will direct a completely overhauled DOJ to investigate every radical DA and AG in America for their illegal, racist enforcement of the law. The deep state is destroying our nation, but the tables must turn and we will quickly destroy the deep state. We know where the bodies are buried. There are a lot of people out there that have done some very, very evil things, very bad things, I would say treasonous things against our country. People that have done such harm to our country. I've been looking at them for a long time.
He could order the investigation and prosecution of individuals who he perceives as enemies.
Put them all in jail where they belong. You gotta get tough and smart, and you have to fight fire with fire. You can't allow this to go on. And I will be the one to clean it up. I am your retribution. We will take care of it. We will take care of it.
Hi, folks. Thank you for joining me tonight. It's nice to see everybody showing up, and I hope y'all are having a great evening. Let me see who came to see me tonight. Time is of the essence. Remember, I said that real estate terms would be applying many times to what's going on in our country, and that is a term, a contract term. By the way, don't ever sign a contract that says that. But anyway, a number of reasons I'm using that term. We'll get into it. KNS Cleanup, how you doing? Darla, nice to see you. Sissy, Sherry, Robin, Colette, Tammy, Lucky's here. How you doing? Elva, Cole's here. Nice to see you. Wayne's here. Give me a thumbs up. Thank you, Wayne, for going by. Buy me a coffee earlier this evening. I do appreciate it. And everybody else that went by to see me at Buy Me a Coffee, like Miss Mendersu. Ha ha ha. KNS Cleanup, how you doing? Where's Roland at? Roland went by Buy Me a Coffee too. Okay, Roland, where you at? Ha ha. Sometimes he comes in late. Mike and Bev and Hilarious too went by to Buy Me a Coffee to help support the channel this week, and I do appreciate it. Hi, Melinda. How are you? Sherry's here. Let's see who else is here. All right. If I missed anybody, Pappy Two Bears is here. Yes. Happy Easter to all. There's Miss Mendersu. Robin's here. Darla. Let's see. Who did I miss? I don't think I missed anybody. And my lurkers. I want to say hi to my lurkers. And I got to get my booms fired up. I haven't got them preloaded because we're going to talk about what a dramatic rescue was and what was the timeline on that. You know, you could take a situation like that and get 2 birds with 1 stone, 3 birds with 1 stone. Kapow! Kaboom! 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 Or 50 birds with 1 stone. I'll talk about that. Many of you might know what I'm talking about. Hi, Melvita. How you doing? So, Donald Trump put up interesting video prior to the official word that the pilot was rescued. This came up on his Truth Social page. Many of Iran's military leaders who have led them poorly and unwisely are terminated, along with much else. Much else. With this massive strike in Tehran, President Donald J. Trump. And remember me saying that the mixed signals, they say they captured a pilot. Nobody's really confirmed. We got the one rescued. They're saying we got both rescued. I said, well, this is a high-value event for the Iranians. And it would cause leadership to pop their head up out of the ground. Remember me saying that? But anyway, here's the video Donald Trump posted. Yeah, so there's a little more engine noise after that, but those were some big booms, and apparently Donald Trump had confirmation to his satisfaction that there was at least 50 members of Iran's command that got wiped out. And somebody did poke their head up out of the ground. You know, they've got to communicate somehow. When you got a high-value situation like a pilot that they could possibly capture, the top brass is going to try to inject their desire into the brains of the people that are trying to capture that pilot. They got to do it somehow. They got to send a runner, or they got to do a radio burst, or they got to do something over the internet, or do something. And, confirmation of where they were holed up. And they were ready for them. Kaboom. So the story on the pilot being rescued is solidifying as far as the dramatics of it, which it is a very dramatic situation. And we thought my last broadcast that he had already been captured. If he hadn't, hi, Angela, how you doing? If he hadn't been captured, what I'm hearing from reports is exactly what, I was going to do on the discussion of the situation. Your plane crashes, and the first thing that you're going to do is get distance from any potential pursuers and conceal yourself. But anyway, let's say I got a bunch of different videos. This is the location of where we had a refueling base and a recon base that was set up really quick, according to the reports. And there was a couple of C-130s they couldn't get out in a timely manner, and a couple of smaller helicopters they call Little Birds that they demoed. Here's some footage of that on the ground. There's all kinds of different stories coming out about this. I'll go over them. One, I didn't even copy the story, or much less the picture that was accompanying it, because I think it's a hoax. They said there was a skull of a one of our troops in the wreckage, and they're doing what they can to try to maximize the PR for this, and there's really nothing good as far as PR goes for them. I mean, they had a chance to get something. I mean, even one soldier. And let's see what this one. This one might be from the show. This might be an aerial where they, after all was said and done, I believe they got a drone up in the air. The Republican Guard. Yeah, if you look, you'll see little figures walking around on the ground. This is from the air of the, there they are walking around. That's probably how they were searching for the pilot. Because they couldn't get any air assets of any real value beyond a drone. With the coverage we had. But anyway, Benjamin, how you doing? Kim, nice to see you. Clocks went back Sunday? I thought they went back a while back. Benjamin's here. Let's see. I'll make sure I didn't miss anybody. But let's see what else we got here. So Trump posted a number of things, and of course they're all like, "Oh, Trump doesn't know what he's doing. He's being wishy-washy. He's being taco." You know, all their usual crap. Trump knows exactly what he's doing. He's putting out timelines, and they better pay attention. Let's see if did I have this one up yet? Already got this one. Already got this one. My apologies. My apologies. Here's a post from Trump. If you import the third world, you become the third world. And that's not going to happen to the United States of America as long as I am President Donald J. Trump. And I guess you heard the news. I'll pull it up when I come across it, of Soleimani's family getting deported, detained. Here's where, let's see what Trump was posting here. He's finding time to put out warnings and missives at a number of different entities. But I put time as of the essence because he's put a deadline for Tuesday now, 8 p.m. We'll go over his messages where he talked about different timelines. But the time and day of the deadline, that doesn't mean something's going to happen right that instant. But that's the official word. Unless he gives them an extension, you know, if they throw him some like 20 tankers or something like that, they might get another day or two. But anyway, I'm talking about the 40,000 foot view, not just Iran, but the people responsible for what I played at the beginning of the video. Okay, that gets me in trouble. Hi, beautiful cat. How you doing? The CVID people, okay, and the Epsteinio people, and a lot more. We've gone 14 months into Trump's presidency. You know, at what point is it going to be things are going to have to happen? When is a hammer going to drop? I don't see how we go through this without a hammer dropping, unless it is going to be another long slog through another election, and something dramatic happened there. But anyway, the failing New York Times, whose lack of credibility and their constant fake news attack on your favorite president, me, has caused its circulation to absolutely plummet. Well, the people that own that paper don't care. They care about the propaganda. Just because the circulation went down doesn't mean their reports doesn't get repeated and proliferated on social media all over the place. Blue Sky and stuff like this, and keeping the brainwashed. But anyway, they referred to our severely weakened and extremely unreliable partner, air quotes, NATO, as the North American Treaty Organization. The correct name is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. A very interesting mistake. The hiring and educational standards have gone way down at the New York Times. Bring back all the news that's fit to print and make America great again. President DJT. Yeah, how do you get Pulitzer Prizes for making mistakes like that? It's all stolen land anyway. Remember when I gave Iran 10 days to make a deal or open up the Hormuz Strait? Time is running out. 48 hours before all hell will rain down on them. Glory be to God. President Donald J. Trump. Now, when was this? Oh, I didn't keep the date on. Well, this was the other day. Yesterday, I believe. Let me get that off the screen. Clandestine put up, Trump is setting something up. This deadline for Iran falls 30 minutes after U.S. markets open Monday morning. There are reportedly 40-plus nations in discussions about sending ships to help secure the strait, led by the UK and France. Deadlines spur action. And that was, he put the post that I just read to you. Well, now we know what the new deadline or the codified deadline is. I'll put it that way. Tuesday. Hi, Debbie. Yes, I hope everyone had a wonderful Easter. Hi, Robert. Nice to see you. I'm just looking through the chats. I need to get some background music. I know. I hate it when broadcasts go quiet. But anyway, I want to see which one we're going to play next. We're going to talk about next. I've got some reports about Easter and things like that. You know, I thought Jonathan Karl was doing better. I played some clips of him where he was actually acting kind of fair. Then out of the blue, Trump puts this out. Third-rate news anchor Jonathan Karl of ABC Fake News, the worst and most corrupt network in the business, wrote another made-up book about me, where his stories and reporting bear no relationship to the truth. I haven't heard about this yet. ABC was already forced to pay me $16 million because of their false and misleading reporting. That was a little George Slopadopoulos error, but Karl is worse. What do you mean, Donald? 18 million? 20 million? I don't know. A waste of time. Fictitious quotes. Don't buy the book. President DJT. We'll see if there's further action taken there. You know, I think I'm going to leave this up. Because it is Easter Sunday, and I'm going to take down my thumbnail. It's something for people to cogitate on. There we go. Whenever you feel like people are judging you, just keep that in mind. Well, here's the truth that Trump put out about the pilot that was rescued from President Donald J. Trump. We got him, my fellow Americans. Over the past several hours, the United States military pulled off one of the most daring search and rescue operations in U.S. history for one of our incredible crew member officers, who also happens to be a highly respected colonel, and who I am thrilled to let you know is now safe and sound. This brave warrior was behind enemy lines in the treacherous mountains of Iran, being hunted down by our enemies, who were getting closer and closer by the hour, but was never truly alone, because his commander-in-chief, Secretary of War, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and fellow warfighters were monitoring his location 24 hours a day and diligently planning for his rescue. At my direction, the U.S. military sent dozens of aircraft armed with the most lethal weapons in the world to retrieve him. He sustained injuries, but he will be just fine. This miraculous search and rescue operation comes in addition to a successful rescue of another brave pilot yesterday, which we did not confirm because we did not want to just jeopardize our second rescue operation. This is the first time in military memory that 2 U.S. pilots have been rescued separately deep in enemy territory. We will never leave an American warfighter behind. The fact that we were able to pull off both of these operations without a single American killed or even wounded just proves once again that we have achieved overwhelming air dominance and superiority over the Ukraine skies. This is a moment that all Americans, Republican, Democrat, and everyone else should be proud of and united around. We truly have the best, most professional, and lethal military in the history of the world. God bless America, God bless our troops, and happy Easter to all. So I'm sure the family was thrilled. This is a picture of the little birds that U.S. is saying 2 of them. You see there? You see the number of crew they got, or not crew, they're people they're able to take off with. 2 of those were lost. They had to be destroyed. And the Iranians are saying 4, and CNN said 4. But even the Russian news, which is they would rather report bad news for the Americans. Even they're correcting CNN. So the wreckage of a light American helicopter MH-6 Little Bird near the wreckage of a search and rescue aircraft HC-130J Combat King II was destroyed by U.S. Air Force strikes in Iran to prevent them from falling into the hands of the IRGC. Probably military personnel of the special unit. This was before the entire story came out. Here they thought only 1 was destroyed. It's 2 of the little birds. Probably military personnel of the special unit involved in the search and rescue operation could have been transported on it with the aim of surveying the area where the pilot was located, evacuating him, and making a quick retreat. Yeah, these are nimble little quick things that could carry a pretty substantial for its size payload. There's some other pictures of it. And they put a picture of the rotor in normal condition and the rotor they found on the ground. But anyway, just to give you an idea what those look like when they say little birds. They're not like an Apache or anything. And, you know, the liberals are going nuts. We can't even have free health care because we're destroying helicopters and spending all this money. How many of you all remember the footage in the 1970s of them pushing helicopters off aircraft carriers because we just didn't need them anymore? Pushing planes off aircraft carriers when Vietnam had ended? And I don't want to get back into Lend-Lease, where we gave Russia over 100,000 trucks and airplanes and tanks, and along with the UK. So, worrying about two little helicopters. They're all acting like they have to live uncomfortably. They're not getting their freebies. Here's Trump. New, Trump gives sweeping 48-hour deadline on Iran conflict. On Saturday, he gave a 48-hour deadline to the Iranian regime, either to agree to a ceasefire or face escalation on the ongoing conflict. So he's hardened that down to a specific time now. Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped in one. In Iran. Now, I said about Donald Trump using foul language. He does it only when necessary or for added impact. He doesn't use it in everyday talk. And now he's adding impact. There'll be nothing like it. Open the effing straight, you crazy bastardos, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. President Donald J. Trump. So he's trolling them. Allah. Well, there we go. That's the same one. Yeah. Praise be to Allah. I got that from a couple of different sources. So, day after tomorrow. Day after tomorrow. So, anyway, let me see if I got some of these reports here about when the soldier was, the colonel. Let me see if this is it. Here we go. Let's see. And then I got a interview with Trump. I'll play in a minute.
Well, we start you with a new development, Tommy. The president is boasting another mass assassination of Iranian leaders who gathered together. The president posted on Truth Social. Many of Iran's leaders who have led them poorly and unwisely are terminated. He posted it with a video of an airstrike. It coincides with information from a Telegram channel that more than 50 senior Iranian officials were eliminated in a combined strike from Israeli and U.S. forces. Israel, it should be noted, denies participation in this one. The search continues for a weapons systems operator missing from a U.S. F-18E that was shot down Friday over southwestern Iran. That pilot was rescued. The mission to rescue the pilot came under enemy fire. 2 helicopters were damaged and some crew members were injured, but they landed safely. An A-10 Warthog was hit and crashed near the Strait of Hormuz. That pilot also rescued. An anchor on state-controlled TV in Iran put out a bounty on the missing airman, encouraging people to turn him over to police.
Residents of Koji Luye in Boyer Ahmed province, dear and honorable people, if you capture the enemy pilot or pilots alive and hand them over to the police, you will receive a precious prize.
The Israeli Defense Force, meantime, released a remarkable video of a missile launcher being taken out in northwestern Iran. Israel says the strike thwarted plans to fire missiles at Israel. In the meantime, the Prime Minister of Israel says Israeli jets have started striking at the petrochemical industry inside of Iran.
Yeah, so that was just prior to the rescue, or so we're informed. I still think it's a good chance that keeping it under your hat and letting them think there was a good chance they could capture the pilot flushed out that command center. I believe that. I believe that's a very good possibility. I mean, you've got a colonel, a full bird colonel on a mission like that. And the other thing, too, I'll show you some of the posts. Speculation was they had set up that little base because they were looking for uranium. Okay? But anyway, here's the pictures of the firefight. And I put it on a loop to play it twice. You see the little figures running around on the ground there? They're trying to approach the where the pilot was. And I'm going to put it on a loop and play it twice. You know why? Because I like it. But anyway, this is where they get made into mincemeat, just like I was saying the other day. They could make mincemeat out of them.
Come back to the left. DMZ02, talk. Come back to the left. DMZ02, talk.
And the other thing they accomplished was, the Republican Guard or Revolutionary Guard, whatever you want to call them, they have not been wanting to gather up. They've been hiding themselves. Their road checks have been toned way down because every single day, 24 hours a day, if we find a group of people with the Republican Guard, they get the business. And this drew them all out. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And they made quick work of them, as you can see. Let's see, we got some new people here. How you doing? Nice to see you. It's that kid. How you doing? Brett's here. How you doing, Brett? Nice to see you. Yes, it was a wonderful rescue. But Phantom, how you doing? Nice to see you. Happy Ascension Day to you, my friend. And like I said, a number of things was taken care of. We took out 50 plus of the leadership and many other things Donald Trump was saying, and also rescued our pilot and took out a lot of heretofore hidden away Republican Guard members. And I was talking the other day, morale. Everything else aside, you got to have good morale. You get the best food, the best equipment, whatever. But if your troops have been demoralized, you are at a big disadvantage. So, yeah, that's why I want to put this quote up from Sun Tzu. That's another one I got from Clandestine, where he was saying, hey, Trump proved he'd move heaven and earth to rescue one soldier, any soldier. And that's how you get your troops to be behind you. Keep up morale. Let me see. I've got a number of reports here. Let's see. I'll play some videos here in a minute. Rachel Scott spoke with President Trump. He told me the conflict should be over in days, not weeks, But if no deal is made, he's blowing up the whole country with, quote, very little off the table. If it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, we're blowing up the whole country, he said. I asked if there's anything off limits. Very little, he said. And of course, the left goes nuts. He's a war criminal. You can't blow up power plants. That's civilian structures. I responded to one of them. So war is a war crime, right? War's a war crime? Is that what you're saying? Power plants, for thousands of years, people didn't have electricity and they got along. Okay, power plants are not well, you're knocking out people's electricity. No, so how do you think everybody got along in some territories in our country, in Appalachia and places like that? Back in the 1960s, there were more homes without indoor power than outside, or bathrooms for that matter. That's why they had Johnny houses. How did people think people got along thousands of years ago? And for thousands of years. The area we were looking at where the tribes people were shooting at our aircraft, they didn't have any power. They don't have any power out there in the mountains in Iran. So anyway, yeah, everything's a damn war crime with them. It's not. And I remind of the term like-kind retribution. Like-kind retribution. If they, well, they already have. Name a country surrounding Iran. They haven't targeted infrastructure of their neighbors, apartment buildings, hotels, airports. So, like-kind retribution is permitted under the laws of war. Here is what Clandestine put up. The results of the search and rescue mission are well worth any dollar amount it costs to save those pilots, not just for the lives of the soldiers, but because of the optics. Trump just proved to every soldier that he and the U.S. military will move heaven and earth for them. And I put up the Sun Tzu quote to go along with it. People don't remember one officer was demoted during Obama's term because he said, I don't appreciate the rules of engagement that require me to get shot in the back before I'm able to do anything. The rules of engagement were awful under Obama, and he got demoted for saying that. Now, they cry over this, what's his face for Mark Kelly. They cry over him, going to be disciplined over his dopey comments. And they forget what Obama did to people that disagreed with him. Oh, here's some good news. Here's some good news. Secretary of State Marco Rubio confirmed that Ellen DeGeneres, her application to repatriate to the United States has been denied. Miss DeGeneres voluntarily forfeited her citizenship when she left in a little hissy fit. Spit on America, right, when you leave. And then say, oh, I'm coming back now. No. She forfeited her citizenship when she left, and State Department spokesman Benja Oro, quote, nobody forced her to do that. unquote. Oro said the failed actress and daytime talk show hosts will have to get in line like everyone else. There's a process for immigration and citizenship, regardless of your background. I gotta put some booms on it. Kaboom, 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 kaboom. Ellen Degenerate. So, yeah. Secretary of State makes those decisions. That's why I'm criticizing Henry Kissinger, who was Secretary of State under Richard Milhouse Nixon and involved in the federal government with security clearances up until the day he died at the age of 100. Who the hell was Henry Kissinger? And that is when the fallacy of birthright citizenship was permitted to flourish under his criminally negligent eye as Secretary of State. The role Marco Rubio is taking care of right now. And Henry Kissinger was same suit, different bow tie as George Soros. I don't know why I got off on that one, but I did. So anyway, I'm trying to find that interview with Trump. I might not have uploaded the whole thing. It's lengthy, but well, maybe I'll play it tomorrow. We'll see. Let's see what's on this one. Let's see. Let me go ahead and play this.
Yeah, guys, good morning. I just spoke with President Trump for 15 minutes. He gave me some new details on the negotiations behind the scenes with the Iranians and what's going to happen if Iran does not make a good faith deal. The president tells me if they don't make a deal and fast, I'm considering blowing everything up and taking over the oil. The president went on to say you're going to see bridges and power plants dropping all over their country. Now, I asked him about the possibility of an agreement with the Iranians. He says those who are negotiating on behalf of Iran have been granted amnesty at this time so they can continue the talks. And the president tells me he thinks he'll be able to get a deal by tomorrow. He says, I think there's a good chance tomorrow. They're negotiating now. All of this following the president's post on Truth Social, where he talked about these negotiations with the Iranians. We'll pull this up. He says, quote, Tuesday will be power plant day and bridge day, all wrapped up in one. In Iran, there will be nothing like it. Open the effing straight, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. The president posting there on Truth Social about this ongoing operation and his new red line for the Iranian regime. Now, the president also provided new details on what happened earlier this year as the Iranian regime took to the streets and slaughtered what the president tells me is 45,000 civilians in their own country. After that took place, President Trump told me the United States sent guns to the Iranian protesters. He tells me we sent them a lot of guns. We sent them through the Kurds, and the president says he thinks the Kurds kept them. He went on to say we sent guns to the protesters, a lot of them. And so a number of headlines here from my conversation with President Trump. All of this taking place more than a month into Operation Epic Fury and in the aftermath of that successful U.S. operation overnight to rescue that stranded U.S. service member inside Iranian territory. The president himself ordering that operation after the CIA came on Saturday morning and confirmed that they located where this crew member of an F-15 that was shot down on Friday was located. Again, the president making that decision to send in hundreds of U.S. special forces deep into Iranian territory and successfully retrieving that U.S. service member. Guys?
I want to make sure I got this correctly. Are you saying that the president told you that?
Now, I'm going to interject by when I hear something I like, I'm going to put a boom in or something I don't like because I can't really comment because the volume gets messed up if I keep my volume on, and I can't do like a lot of other YouTubers. They call their content reaction when every now and then they just say the F word or they say GD in the middle of the report and they say, oh, can you believe that? And F over and over again. That's reaction in their book. But I'll react with, I don't know, I might do a boom, I might do some of this, pow, pow, pow. Some pows on the screen, I don't know. We'll see how it goes, pow, pow, pow. But anyway, let's see what she's asking.
That he sent guns, the U.S. government sent guns to the protesters via the Kurdish, but the Kurdish kept some of the guns?
Correct. The president tells me that the United States sent guns to the Iranian protesters earlier this year. He says we sent them a lot of guns. We sent them through the Kurds, and he thinks that the Kurds kept them. Remember, the president made a commitment to the Iranian protesters who were in the streets of their country earlier this year. Those images were circulating online of thousands of people who were slaughtered at the hands of the Iranian regime, the current regime that is attacking U.S. forces as we speak. And the president made a commitment on Truth Social to those protesters, and he said help is on the way. And we are learning as a result of this call with President Trump that he attempted to send guns to these protesters in order to fight back and defend them. Remember, these were peaceful demonstrators who were protesting against their government, and they were met with live ammunition from the Iranian regime in the streets of their country. They were slaughtered. And Fox News was talking to people in Iran who were using Starlink, and they were describing these horrific scenes in the streets of their country. And the president, again, told them that support and help was on the way. And so it appears that was the help the president was talking about. And again, as all of this is taking place, now that we zoom out 3 months later, the president is offering the Iranians a diplomatic solution to end this conflict. The same offer that he gave the Iranians before Operation Epic Fury began. Exactly. And remember, we know that at the negotiating table before this operation began, the opening position of the Iranian regime is that we have 460 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium, enough to make 11 nuclear bombs. And the president, understanding the country's ballistic missile program and their nuclear aspirations, ultimately ordered this operation. Well, more than 35 days later, the president once again is offering the Iranians a diplomatic solution. And again, he tells Fox News in a phone call earlier today, he thinks he'll be able to get a deal with Iran by tomorrow. He says he thinks there's a good chance tomorrow. They are negotiating now. But again, the president goes on to tell me you're going to see bridges and power plants dropping all over their country if they're unwilling to make a deal.
So incredible reporting, Trey. But it's interesting because he told you, President Trump told you that he was thinking optimistic, it sounds like, that there could be a deal tomorrow. But did you also sense a frustration in his talking about the negotiations? Because Iran has never changed their tune. They so far have yet to show any inkling of good faith negotiating, but maybe something has changed in the last 24 hours?
The short answer is no. It doesn't appear anything major has changed as it relates to the way that the Iranians are negotiating. What's changed is the increase in pressure that continues. President Trump ordered, remember, a strike against the B-1 bridge, a new bridge in Iran that the Iranians, according to intelligence officials here, were going to use to transport military equipment. And he told me on the phone that as he was trying to get a deal, the Iranians were trying to push off the negotiating timeline, saying next Tuesday we'll meet, for example. And the president said, no, next hour, because this is a president who wanted to get a deal. He wants to get the job finished. And ultimately, the Iranians were trying to stretch out that negotiating timeline, and the president ordered the strike against this critical infrastructure in Iran, again, to send a message that the United States is not playing games on the battlefield or at the negotiating table. And so the sense that I got from President Trump is that he is very serious as it relates to these threats against the Iranian regime when it comes to their unwillingness to make a good faith agreement, despite the fact that the president has given them multiple off-ramps. And again, he tells me that he ideally will take Iranian oil if they are unwilling to make an agreement. And so that is a major development in this conflict. And the president making very clear in his post on Truth Social that Iranian power and energy infrastructure will be targeted in the days ahead if Iran doesn't make a deal tomorrow.
Based on your conversation then, Trey, especially when you consider there has been no evidence whatsoever that the regime is trustworthy. They make deals all the time. They say things all the time, and they never, ever, ever follow through. Was that your sense in listening to the president? And if that's so, it seems to me like 24 hours from now, we're going to hear a lot more about bombing.
Yes, the president understands the deal very well, based on what I gathered from the conversation. And he said primarily we're talking about the Strait of Hormuz being opened.
That's
and
right.
Again, the Iranians have these small vessels where they use mine lane vessels, for example, to try and disrupt billions of dollars worth of oil trade through the strait. And it's something that they can continue to do, and it's very inexpensive for Iran, but can be very expensive for the international energy markets. And the president understands this. And so the primary thing that he talked about was the Strait of Hormuz. He also said there are 15 other points, but he does believe that he'll be able to get an agreement with the Iranian regime.
I think the important part here...
How they sat there and said, no, we'll get with you next week. The Iranians, we're working on getting with you next week. And Trump said, no, tomorrow. But part of the reason there's trouble with the Strait of Hormuz and these small boats, and I believe part of the reason the F-15 was shot down was because China had given Iran about 5,000 what's called man pads. Man pads, which is the advanced version of a Stinger shoulder-fired rocket launchers, and you can fire them off of boats on the ground or whatever, and they are heat-seeking, So it'd be kind of hard to do aerial protection of the Gulf when they've got those thousands of man pads out there. Lower flying craft would be vulnerable. So, they got to come to an agreement, or it's going to be figured literally lights out. So,
Two is the negotiating team that the president has. We're talking about U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. If you think back to last year, the entire region didn't think a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas was possible. And ultimately, the president was able to send his special envoy to the region, send Jared Kushner to the region, and go to Egypt and get a deal that everyone said wasn't possible. And I think that is the sentiment now. Ultimately, there will be some sort of negotiated settlement. The president's really just giving the Iranians a chance right now in order to stop things right here, because the United States has more U.S. forces in the region. The president's been very clear he's willing to move more forces to the Middle East if needed, but there are already tens of thousands of U.S. forces currently in the Middle East. And as we saw last night, U.S. Special Forces have the ability, hundreds of them, to go into Iranian territory to conduct operations and successfully leave the country without anyone being killed or very serious injuries happening to those forces. And again, this is also a message of deterrence, I am told. I spoke with a senior U.S. official earlier today who said only the United States of America has the capability to do what is being done right now in Iran. And the president has a variety of options on the table to choose from as it relates to how this conflict is going to move forward. And as we talked about earlier, it appears the president is giving the Iranians until tomorrow to make a good faith agreement, or there will be a price to pay, according to the president, and that will be Iran's power grid and bridges. And he even described it to me as Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, because he said this will be a concerted effort to strike at the heart of the regime and their infrastructure if they're unwilling to come to the table and make a good faith deal.
Well, Trey, your report gives me a lot of hope. I mean, we've all been praying for peace and hopefully a negotiation, a way out of this. Did the president give you any indication as to who is leading these negotiations? My understanding is that last week the Iranians said, we want to deal with J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance was beginning negotiations with somebody on the Iranian side, and then that person we killed, and I think, or injured, and then some of his family was killed, if I'm correct. Correct me if I'm wrong. So who is leading the negotiations, and who are they negotiating with? Because part of the problem is if you kill so many of the leaders, you're not left with a lot of people to negotiate.
Yeah, I want to be careful with my reporting here, but I can tell you I spoke with President Trump both on and off the record. We talked for about 15 minutes.
I understand.
And he told me that the current negotiators from the Iranian side have been granted limited amnesty right now. They're not going to kill them as these negotiations continue. And that's something that the Iranians requested, and the president was willing to grant, given the fact that he is controlling the scope of these negotiations right now. But I think the president also talked about how the Iranians are negotiating. And this was the thing that I drew from the conversation, is that the Iranians like to drag their feet in these negotiations. And the president basically, through that strike on a key bridge in Iran last week, was trying to send a message to them that they're either going to make a deal or they're going to face consequences for not making a deal. And so, again, the president told me that the Iranians were trying to push off the negotiations an additional week and a number of days ahead. And the president said, no, next hour you're going to negotiate. Because, again, this is a president who is directly involved and speaking on a daily basis with U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, with his son-in-law Jared Kushner, because they understand the framework of this deal. They also understand how the Iranians negotiate. And they're not negotiating in good faith, despite the fact that the United States is giving them this off-ramp.
Right.
We have seen this in the past. We saw this during previous administrations. And the difference with this administration is that the president is not willing to let them drag it out. He's saying, if you're going to make a deal, you need to make it, as he told me, tomorrow, not next week.
So the clock is ticking. Trey Yingst, great report.
The heat is on. The heat is on. Here, what's this one? Here's another Fox report. Let's see what this is. Let's see. I don't know if this is a needle in a haystack. He had a SATCOM, apparently.
CIA found this colonel in a mountain crevice. Then they told the Pentagon where he was. At some point, this colonel climbed up a 7,000-foot ridge line. Is that part of the survival training, to try to get as high as you possibly can?
Peter, it's to get as far away from your initial landing site as possible and then start to find a place where you can hide well and start to communicate via encrypted radio back to the rescue forces. And so it takes the great training of that WISO, but also the great training of those on-call combat search and rescue personnel in order to accomplish what we saw with the help of national means like the CIA as well.
Yeah, if a distance, you get distance between yourself and any potential pursuers. And then you hide. And if you're way up high, you can look and see who's looking for you. If they're walking away from you, good. And don't move until nighttime if you're going to move at all. But if you got a real good spot, stay hidden. Let's see. Here we go. 2 American rescue aircraft are heading from Stuttgart to the Middle East. These are the 2 that did not return. This was reported just before the rescue, indicating that search for the missing crew member was still on. But then you have the propaganda that Iran tried to put out. However, according to public information, 1 crew member was arrested by the Iranian Republican Guard and the other was found by the Americans. We know all that's false, except, not all of it, except about the Combat King. 2, that there were 2 of them. The nose gear sunk in the sand. And they couldn't roll for takeoff, you know. So the thing is, you're not there to protect equipment. You're there to save lives. Call in something else. Get the heck out of there. This is what they called in. The modernized C-29-5W of the U.S. Air Force was spotted at an extremely low altitude in the sky over Iran. I think I might have a video of that one. The aircraft is in service with the specialized secret 427th Special Operations Squadron. This was stuff coming across the wire last night, which is part of the U.S. Air Force Special Operations Command. The squadron does not appear on public lists of U.S. Air Force units and specializes in covert infiltration into enemy territory and evacuation from there. Everyone was mobilized to rescue the pilots, which we did successfully, plus wiped out 50 plus of their command structure. And here is the intimation that this was about raiding the location where uranium was hidden. I don't know. Time will tell. The Americans landed 400 kilometers from the border of Iran with Iraq, south of the important city of Isfahan, where the Iranian Nuclear Technology Center, military and missile bases, as well as an air base, are located. That's also where I showed you that other huge explosion with the 6 to 10 block long secondary explosion. Remember that? That was in Isfahan. Okay? And they give the coordinates. The U.S. benefited from the desert terrain with low population density in this area and the element of surprise, which allowed them to set up a temporary airfield for a short period. But it was no longer possible to leave the airfield on their had not flown in to rescue their pilot, but to seize Iran's nuclear facility for the subsequent extraction of uranium. Well, we shall see. We shall see. Whatever they were doing, it caused the leadership to make a very foolish mistake. First of all, to gather in such a large group and then give away their location. So anyway, this is more ground shots of the destroyed equipment after the evacuation of the second pilot of the downed F-15E. The U.S. had to destroy 2 search and rescue aircraft, the HC-130J Combat King II, and 2 helicopters, which were unable to leave Iran for an unknown reason. You know, they're saying that the tires had sunk down in the sand. It could be a number of things. It could have been the fuel situation. They may have had to scavenge fuel to put in the other craft, or they might have had damage to the tires, or who knows what. Main thing was to get everybody out quick as possible. According to the New York Times, the aircraft were blown up on the ground to avoid their capture by Iranian forces after landing at an improvised refueling point. 3 additional HC-130J Combat King IIs were sent to continue the search and rescue operation. I want to find that report where the New York Times said it was 4 of them. But we know they're liars. I don't really need to find that. Let's see what this is. This is a memo going out. The American satellite company Planet Labs is imposing a, quote, indefinite ban on the publication of high-resolution satellite images related to the war in Iran. They were putting out real-time stuff. The restriction comes into effect retroactively since March 9th, 2026. Almost a month, they're wiping it out. No more public access. And will remain in effect until the end of the war. Company representatives state that the ban on the publication of images was imposed at the request of the U.S. government. This may have been what led up to the F-15 being shot down and the discovery of that, I'll call it a mini base, okay? I mean, it's more than a refueling base to rescue the pilot. So they were there possibly to raid a nuclear facility, and companies like this inadvertently, but they got to use their heads a little bit. We're putting out stuff that the Iranians had access to. They didn't have to use their own satellite imagery. They just hacked into their equipment. And you never know. Somebody on the inside may have been trying to help them out. Yeah, Miss Mendersue's putting coffees in there. Yeah. And boom. So I'm on I forgot. Thank you for reminding me, Miss Mendersue. I'm supposed to do the beginning, the middle, and the end, and then I go babbling and I keep forgetting. But I do have a link I put in the chats for Buy Me a Coffee. Anybody wants to help the channel out. This is a totally viewer-supported channel, and I appreciate everybody that's helped out with Buy Me a Coffee. This week it was Miss Mendersue and Roland. Hilarious too. And Mike and Bev, wait a minute, I got to do my booms. Mike and Bev, boom. Wayne went by there this evening. So I appreciated everybody going by. Thank you, Wayne. Which shows that the link works. Kaboom, kaboom, kaboom. After the live stream, if anybody's interested. So anyway. Very much appreciated. Here, let me see what this is. Oh. You know, there's so many topics that we could talk for an hour on. We're not just fighting the Iranians. We're fighting, as everybody in the chats knows, for years, we're dealing with infiltration into our nations, the core of our nation's being, the fiber of our country is being attacked all the time. Get a load of this. Been researching D.C. juries this morning. Did you know that D.C. has a specific school curriculum which is mandatory from 6th to 12th grade, which trains them in civic participation, including juries? I didn't know that. So for 6 school seasons, 6 years, they drill in their heads about being on a jury. What do they teach them? Students are taught how to look past the actual crime and evaluate all charges through root causes and equity. There is no chance of a favorable conviction in D.C. Is that a form of jury tampering? Root causes and equity have no weight in the law. Juries are instructed to follow the law. It's part of their civic duty to understand the law. The judge's responsibility to explain to them the law. And they take a solemn oath to make their decision based on the law. So this needs to stop. And you know, did you all hear the rumors flying around that Trump was in a hospital and wasn't going to make it? Put a thumbs up in the chats if you heard that story over the weekend. I heard it after the fact. I'll tell you why I'm bringing it up in a minute. Who heard about that stuff? Here we go. Gas prices today, Tennessee $2.99, California $5.59. Same president, different governors. Todd heard about it. Kim didn't take any notice, but heard about it apparently. But anyway, I would be combing social media, especially for people in government service and people in the military, anybody that heard that and put out positive comments or hooray, Mac heard it too, anything like that, those people should be removed from the military or government service. Anybody praising the President of the United States passing away or falling gravely ill, I believe that might be an op like that. That might have been an op like that. Just to root out the people involved that you can't count on. They have no business in government. Donald Trump posted this from Tara Bull. Breaking: 320,000 children, nearly 9% of the U.S. births, were born to temporary migrant mothers. Wow. The fiber of our country. You can't import third world people without becoming a third world country.
About birth tourism. It's booming. In 2023, over 300,000 babies were born to unauthorized or legal temporary immigrant mothers. Add that in total. It's 9% of the U.S. births in that given year. When we look at how that shakes out over time, a clear spike in the number of births to unauthorized immigrant mothers in the United States from 2019 to 2023. That's unprecedented. It's unforeseen. It's undeniable. But Chief Justice Roberts, unconvinced.
It certainly wasn't a problem in the 19th century.
No, but of course, we're in a new world now, as Justice Alito pointed out to, where 8 billion people are one plane ride away from having a child who's a U.S. citizen.
Well, it's a new world. It's the same Constitution.
Okay, Roberts. If you can't see how people are taking advantage to invade our country and you don't think enough of our country to defend it, just because things weren't being enforced in the 19th century doesn't mean it has to continue in this day and age. Where's that one thing about Roberts? I think something big has got to happen. I think we're on a timetable where we don't have time for this kind of nonsense, especially from the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Here, remember this. What do you all know about this? John Roberts' relationship with Norm Eisen is enough to disqualify him from the SCOTUS. We are watching their color revolution. We see it. And if we see it, the military sees it. We're not going to let this country be watered down and destroyed by people with affinity for foreign governments. Hi, Roland. How you doing? Yeah, Sissy, they that's what I heard. They ran a clip from the ambulance from the rally in Pennsylvania. And, yeah, if anybody was hip, hip, hooray, yay, Trump is, hey, and they work for the government, they need to be fired. Maybe it was the op to root them out. We got to do a sweeping change, and it's got to happen soon. Here's one thing that's going on that makes me think that we may be closer to something coming than not. Bear with me. You remember Viktor Orban, right? Big Trump supporter. Prime Minister of Hungary. I showed you where he is sounding the alarm that they're planning on cheating in his election. He's currently the president of the EU. He's in the way of more money being sent to Ukraine. He and his supporters have warned of a potential attempts on his life and coordinated foreign interference in the election, the upcoming election. Orban announced that a powerful explosive device and the means to detonate it were discovered at a critical gas infrastructure facility connecting Serbia and Hungary. Well, that's not good. What else? Budanov, this is a guy from Ukraine. Allies have asked Ukraine to limit strikes on Russian oil refineries. Ukraine is receiving certain signals about the need to reduce the strikes. He did not specify which country made this request. Well, I bet dollars don't, so it wasn't a request. But he's designated as a terrorist and extremist in Russia. I'm getting to a point about the elections in Hungary, the situation in Ukraine. We know a lot about Yuri Ignat, head of communications for Ukrainian Air Force Command. We are running low on Patriot missiles. We've survived this difficult winter thanks to Patriot missiles. We're constantly asking for more. If we are left without these desperately needed missiles, we will be left without everything, and the Russian armed forces will destroy our critical infrastructure. Do you remember this person? FICO. He's the one they tried to assassinate. Shot 5 times. I showed the video. He is allied with Viktor Orban. The European Union and the European Commission are starting to resemble a you-know-what side ship when it comes to energy security, says Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico. So he's telling the Europeans the same thing Trump's telling them. Here's Viktor Orban again. Hungary and Slovakia, I just showed you FICO, are demanding the EU immediately lift sanctions on Russian oil and gas supplies to Europe. Hungarian Prime Minister Orban said after a conversation with his Slovak counterpart, Fico. He said Europe faces an energy crisis and plans to transition to green energy must be, quote, thrown in the trash. Again, he's echoing Donald Trump's position on windmills, solar farms, and the stupidity of it all. So, is there going to be an attempt on Orban? Is there going to be cheating to keep him out of as Prime Minister of Hungary? And if it's discovered, what do you think is going to happen? He's a member of NATO. So are we. What's the rules about NATO? An attack on one is an attack on all. Right? So they're hollering, well, Trump's trying to walk away from NATO. Okay, well, we'll stick with NATO. And whoever attacks Hungary by trying to assassinate them, their leader, or by trying to commit an act of war by interfering in their democratic process, that's an attack on us too. You get what I'm saying, folks? I see it. I see it boiling. I see it. We're going to expose traitors in NATO. And I think it's going to be the Hungary election with Viktor Orban. And then I'm thinking, Zelensky was in Saudi Arabia, right? And I'm wondering, where's he at now? He's in Turkey right now. Zelensky arrived at Istanbul for talks with Erdogan, according to the Kiev regime's press secretary, Nikiforov. He's been in Saudi Arabia, the Middle East, for better part of a week or more, supposedly to help with drones. I'm wondering who's with him. Is his wife with him? Give me a minute. I'll explain to you why I'm thinking this. The Associated Press. Zelensky acknowledged that allies' attention to the Ukraine is waning due to the conflict in the Middle East. According to him, Washington's shifting global priorities are already impacting aid volumes. We must acknowledge that we are not a priority today. I fear that a protracted war will lead to a reduction in support. What does it mean? We suspected for years that Zelensky was a white hat asset. At the very least, a gray hat. Why? Because he didn't throw Trump under the bus when Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman tried to frame him and they tried to impeach him over the phone call. Do you think Zelensky's been pre-exfiltrated? Is there a chance that Zelensky will never go back to Ukraine? Think about it. If the you-know-what hits the fan over assassination attempts or provable election interference, that could be tied to our election situation issues that we had, and bad actors are exposed, traitors in NATO, countries that are supposed to be our allies, committing acts of war, that's when everything would hit the fan. Get what I'm saying, folks? And Zelensky will already be out of harm's way, out of Ukraine, and that's when that war is going to end. Might end with a bang, but it's going to end. So this might be synchronicity between what's going on in Ukraine, what's going on in Iran, what's going on with our NATO allies. This might be the synchronicity I was discussing. Now we need synchronicity at home as far as arrests. Now that Pam Bondi's leaving, she wasn't immediately fired like those generals were. She's going to be there to the end of the month. But who's going to take her place? I said I would like to see Mike Davis take her place, remember? I don't know what the chances of that are. But I found let's see if I can find it. Mike Davis would be great. This is the kind of stuff he puts out. To Eric Swalwell. If you attempt to arrest federal immigration officials for doing their jobs, you will go to federal prison. No question. Insurrection, seditious conspiracy, assault, kidnapping, harboring, conspiracy, to name a few. Try it. See what happens. This was in response to where libs of TikTok put up Eric Swalwell calls ICE agents a-holes and said he will take away their driver's license if he becomes governor of California. This is the kind of stuff we need. Because if Mike Davis had cut and dry information that Swalwell broke the law with Fang Fang or in any other scenario, he would take action. Let me see what's going on. Alina Habba, I don't think she would get Senate confirmation rolling. Oh, really? Todd heard that too. Victoria Nuland. Oh, wow. Well, I know I heard Sidney Powell's name mentioned as a question, and the person would not say a word, not one word. Sidney Powell. And I used to think about Joe DeGeneva, people like that. I think that, Harmeet Dillon, people talk about her, but she's already been reassigned. And she is more of a civil rights attorney, and she's good. She is, I like her. Harmeet Dillon likely to be promoted in Trump DOJ. She'll be third, an assistant attorney general. She's third now. She'll probably be second. That's right, Todd. Getting Sidney confirmed. That leads us to something else. It's called a recess appointment. Recess appointment. Trump hadn't done that yet. Boy, really make him mad and put in as a recess appointment Rudy Giuliani. They would try to impeach him right off the bat, and then we could dig up all the garbage right in front of the public. Let me see what this is. Clandestine said, I cut the top of it off, but he said he's been a supporter of independent journalism movement for about 9 years now. But after witnessing just how bad the, quote, reporting and fake news has been recently, he's talking about independent journalists. I won't mention names right now. Just how bad the reporting and fake news has been recently, I think the clickbait influencers might be worse than the MSM. I have been saying that since I first started broadcasting. One of my early videos said, be careful who you follow. The whole objective of a decentralized and independent media was to circumvent the corrupt mainstream legacy media and provide accurate reporting to the masses. The mission was to create a well-informed populace. Very few stuck to this mission. And for those of us who did, we have been drowned out by clickbait, disinformation, and astroturfed bot engagement. At least with the current setup, there is a chance that the public can find some accurate reporting analysis, but the waters have been muddied with so much BS and propaganda, it's nearly impossible. As for what the solution is, I'm not sure. But the status quo cannot remain. These clickbait influencers are spreading lies have become the very thing they were supposedly set out to destroy. I agree. I don't have a lot of time for clickbaiters, and most everybody knows who they are. Yeah, hi, Phantom. Yeah, they don't have anybody during the Easter break, do they? Debbie. Ha ha ha, Trust Sessions. Boy, wouldn't that be something. I'm telling you, there would be an immediate need for diapers in DC because people would be blowing their bowels right and left if Jeff Sessions got back in there. Oh, Kim, they've wasted so much of people's time and emotion. I am saying keep an eye on that Hungary thing. I'm thinking it's not a lot of time left for Trump, his term. In any other scenario, he would be being called a lame duck president. And they're trying to wait him out. Wait him out. Yeah, Huber from Utah. But I'd say something else that's unspoken. An unspoken concern. All this mind-boggling fraud in multiple states, out in the open, obvious, billions and billions of dollars for years. Nobody has asked the question, where are the inspector generals? Another thing I brought up very early in my broadcasts, and I brought up Danny Kaye in the movie, The Inspector General, a musical. How many of you all remember Danny Kaye in The Inspector General? He was a, roustabout, whatever, and he comes into town and people think he's the Inspector General, and he gets treated so good, people kiss his rear end so much, he just rolls with it, man. And he's not the Inspector General, but people think he is. And they're all hiding their, grift or whatever and kissing up to him. And I was saying, the Inspector Generals have a lot of power. And I was going to the CUE drops. Where have these Inspector Generals been through all this stuff that we're seeing going on in California and Minnesota and all over Hell's Half Acre? Remember CIGI? I played it with Laura Logan and her guests, saying that the deep state had the Commission on Inspector Generals Institute, or whatever it's called, CIGI, wrapped around their finger. Does that include Huber and Horowitz? Because it's criminal negligence at the very least. Well, you could say gross negligence. But then the next step is criminal. U.S. arrests relatives of slain Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. How long have they been in this country? Are they out of their damn minds for letting them in the country in the first flipping place? Where's she? They were living large in L.A. Or where's that? It's a New York Post cover. Here it is. His niece. Busted in land of Satan. There she is. Ice nabs Iran's big skin living in L.A. The Gucci bag and the designer dress. The one that Trump took out his first term. So we let the family of enemy combatants and terrorist organizations just come in. Remember John Kerry and his family. Remember all the Obama bunch tied together with the Muslim Brotherhood. Who approved it? Who let him in? So, you know, either things are coming together in Ukraine, Iran, domestically with finding out who these people are, and it's all going to come together in a big collision, or, you know, we have to trust that Trump knows what he's doing. But I think we're getting into a time crunch. I certainly do. Yeah, Danny Kaye. He's a funny guy. Alina Habba, special prosecutor? Well, I don't know. He said he was going to appoint a real special prosecutor. Remember Trump said that? I'm going to appoint a real special prosecutor. And I'm thinking that's going to be military. So, I got a little thing I'm going to play for you on a loop. Where in the world did it go? You must not want me to play it. Come on, here we go. Here we go. I don't know why I'm getting lag all of a sudden. Lag, but this is a drone light show. I'll play it so you guys can see it a couple of times. Tracy, oh, come on now, my studio's messing up. Tracy Costin said, stunning drone display. On this day, you will be with me in paradise. Did you all get a chance to see this drone display? Anyway, folks, I'll play it for you here in a second on a loop so you can see it. And I want to say thank you for spending your precious time with me. And I should be going live tomorrow night. And if you're subscribed, you'll know when I go live, right? I noticed in one of my last videos that 30% of my viewers were not subscribed. Why is that? And have you hit the thumbs button? Did I say that through the whole video except the beginning? I keep forgetting to do that too. But I want to thank, once again, everybody who went to buy me a coffee to help out. I appreciate it. I put a link in the description at the end of the video. I'm going to play this video. Drones. He is risen, folks. So you all have a great night. I'll be seeing you soon. This is Mountain Man, over and out.